Wouldn't surprise me all that much. Let's get into our operator ban. So Banner no doubt going to come out here somewhere. She is the very first out from NAVI. Spoke to Doki about this when Bank was first reworked and asked him, you know, what bans are we likely to see on this map? And he said straight away, hit Banner. The hatches, especially when looking onto attacking the basement, there's what, 4 or 5 of them you've got to deal with. It's an absolute nuisance. So getting that off the board is always going to be a play. It makes downstairs easier to defend. The Nook is a bit of a spicy one. We've seen that 6 picked in a couple of occasions. Not been out and out a, you know, must ban operator. It's definitely a target ban coming out from DarkZero. Similar story, I imagine, with the Echo.
Yeah, I think the Nook is an interesting one. We don't see too much knock play, but we do see it here on Bank. There's a couple of nice little sneaky strategies you can try and get away with, particularly down the garage ramp into garage for a basement defense, past the camera without shooting it out, and you can, you know, get in there sort of without really being noticed quite often. So they're just going to take away that potential threat from NAVI. Kaid will be the last ban, so that is at least going to leave those hatches unprotected, but without Hibana, they're going to have to think of another method.
I was digging into that Nook ban a little bit further and just wondering if NAVI have ever played it on this map. They only played it once, Tim, and they lost the round. So this for me is more of a security ban away by DarkZero. It's less about stopping NAVI, that's what I thought the reason might be, but it's likely because they want to play a lot of bulletproofs, a lot of evil eyes, things like that once they get onto their defensive side, and simply do not want to have them in the picture. NAVI equally though are looking to take full advantage of that. A Valkyrie on side, a Maestro on side, Pulsano of course, he sees the Nook, but it's all about the intel game coming in here, plus potentially a bulletproof camera or 2. In fact, there are 2, 1 on the Malusi, 1 on the castle. I don't think I've seen so much information in a lineup before in my life, Tim.
There's an awful lot going on. As you say, NAVI, we would expect to have a good handle on all areas of this map, realistically. They should know exactly what DarkZero are doing, where they're pushing from. DarkZero, by contrast, they're going to have their work cut out. I'm looking towards Canadian, particularly on the Flores with those Rotero drones. You're going to have a lot of clearance to do. He's got potentially to pick his targets. He might not be able to get rid of everything necessarily. He's got Banshees to work against. He's got Evil Eye cameras. There's the castle barricades. There's potentially a lot of work that you might be expecting from that Rotero.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into it then. First action phase underway in the second series of the day. As a reminder, if you are just tuning in, this is the lower bracket. Loser goes home. So NAVI or DarkZero will be eliminated today, which feels weird to say. Because these are 2 big names.
Go home today, there's 8 teams.
It's scary, isn't it? Absolutely terrifying. But these are 2 big teams, each in their respective regions of NA and Europe, who you might expect to still see around going into, you know, the later stages of the competition. Here, one of them must go home. Blur, feeding in some information from below, playing on the pulse, just giving his team an idea as to where these repellers are, what's going on up above. Doki, he's always the man that plays around Banana as well. Normally he'll sit inside of there, you'll have something like castle barricades thrown up too. Of course, in this case, non-dedicated there as the site is off towards open area, but he's still lurking around that spot looking to cause some trouble.
That's it, just going to drop away, not wanting to give up his life too soon. It is very early in the round. DarkZero making good early progress here, getting themselves inside, taking that top floor control, and that's pretty big for staff an open area, because they're going to want to try and open up the floor inside a stock specifically, maybe get that hatch open. There is the potential for getting down the hatch and getting the plant down. As I suggested, Rotero's going in for castle barricades, but that is maybe going to leave them a little bit light when it comes to taking out some other utility.
Kind of heartbroken, Tim. I realised I didn't give off my daily love letter to Flores when I saw Canadian pick it in this round. For those who have missed it, and I really doubt you have, I basically, every time I've seen Flores or seen it banned, been like, yeah, you know, Alem's saying this, strongest operator in the game, teams using it really, really well and drawing bans against it. It will come into great effect here, again, knowing that there are Banshees, there are Evil Eyes, there are castle barricades. Sure, NJR can do a lot of that hard work, but what's safer, sending an operator right up to a doorway or sending an explosive drone from long range? The answer is always going to be the latter.
Natural goes out. NJR just with a little bit of fancy footwork gets himself back through the wall onto the hard surface and not going to take any damage. So no worries there. Canadian sending in more Rotero drones to clear out more utility, this time to open up that soft wall next to the window, give an angle inside of sight without necessarily having to put boots on the ground. Good work from DarkZero here. Triple wall getting opened as well. Secretly's on a flank, but well away. A hyper turns on him and manages to put him in the dirt. That's going to be 5 versus 4 now for DarkZero, as Hyper finds himself a second and a third. He just keeps going, Des. There's absolutely no stopping him. His march continues on into sight. He's just going to get himself positioned. Can he find himself another? He can. Surely not a first round ace, Des. Where have we seen this before against NAVI? Hyper, he is looking for it here. He knows roughly where the man is. Pepper in the soft wall, can't find the angle. Everybody's getting in on the action here. NJR takes some damage, finds the final kill, and just takes that ace away. Pinches it from under the nose of Hyper. But DarkZero, they're not going to mind that one bit. What an opening round from them.
Absolutely huge coming in, Tim. I mean, Hyper there has just torn them asunder. And for Navi, it was curious. Down towards Printer, they had the double wall off towards the left, completely castle barricaded off, but the actual door itself into Printer wasn't. And I thought for the longest time we were about to see Canadian spring in through the window, look to try and challenge in towards site. That was going to be the play. No need, though, when Hyper is stepping up and finding a huge 3K for them to get things underway. Down into the basement we go, then open area completely falling by the wayside for Navi, and can't imagine they'll be trying that one again in a hurry. Down here, we spoke about the impact of the ban on the Habana. Now, on the other side, we've got the Ying coming in for Canadian as a 6th pick, taking away that Flores. They do have the 2 hard breachers of the Ace with the Selmas and, of course, Thermite with the Exothermics. That's, you know, looking down to it, probably not all that much they can get open. They've got to be selective on the hatches they want. They can't get every single one opened up. So, that's why, in fact, that's a lie, because they've got the hard breach gadget coming in as well, which I didn't think about. We spoke about this on cast the other day, that now it's no longer just 1 hard breach gadget in the back pocket. You now get 2. And many coming into this competition, Tim, were really excited about the prospect of seeing more Buck, because where you haven't got a Habana, I'm pretty sure she's been far and away the most picked hard breacher throughout the competition. You can make use of those 2 hard breach gadgets to open up hatches on maps like Clubhouse if you're trying to attack into the basement. Similar story applies here. So keep an eye on what hatches they opt to open up. As mentioned, there's quite a few to work your way through. 5 in total, 1 inside of elevator, 1 in lobby, and then 3 off towards the right-hand side. It's definitely going to keep you busy as a hard breacher.
It is indeed. We're going to have a little bit of a push towards building from DarkZero. They're going to get themselves into the top floor again, I'd imagine. We saw them from it last time around, and it worked very, very nicely. Forced everybody back in towards site. Doki already on his way downstairs on the smoke, interestingly.
FMG, is he on FMG?
FM.
Yes, he is. Of course he is. It's becoming a thing, mate. I'm telling you.
I mean, it's slowly becoming a thing. It's a little while since we first saw it, but he's going to get himself back inside the site. The thing is, there's nothing wrong with a roaming smoke if played in a specific way. You've got the Tachanka on site, so that's your alternative for plant denial. But, of course, you've got to remember how powerful those toxic babe canisters are as well, and you still don't really want to be dying with 3 in your pocket.
I mean, look into it, we very rarely see these come as a pair, right? Chanka and Smoke. A lot of teams.
Either or.
Yeah, I mean, look at Brede, for example, playing for BDS. RIP. Looking at how they came into things with when Chanka got reworked, you know, sometimes on this map specifically, they would take away the Smoke, which is a bit weird because it's Brede's go-to, and put him on the Chanka solo. It was very rare they would run both in tandem. They have done it once or twice, but more commonly, they'll just bring one or the other. Navi really doubling down on their denial game because they've got the 2 C4s in back pocket. They've got all those Shumika launch. What a wonderful word, by the way. Shumika launchers to come out of the Capcan? Where am I going with this? Chanka. Honestly, that was so weird.
You've lost me.
On the other side, I lost myself, mate. And the Smoke as well with those 3 canisters in back pocket. They've got so much to work behind here for the denial game that all they need to do really is sit and wait. The problem is they tried that last round and Hyper just absolutely tore them asunder.
It's going to be nearly 2 minutes into the round here, and DarkZero not managing to find an opener yet, not finding a crack in the Navi defense, but they have got control of mid-floor and of top floor, and they can now start putting that pressure on. There's going to be a gadget pinged out there. It's going to be the black eye camera. Is
it worth a nade? I was going to say.
Going to be taken out with the Gon 6 rather than the nade, and there is more being highlighted there. The nade this time likely going to be used on that Evil Eye. We'll take it down, so they're doing a great job here. DarkZero of Phase 2, which is clearing out that utility and preparing for the plant. As you can see, the Shumika launcher is now churning, and those grenades start bouncing off the wall and lighting the floor on fire.
I think it's the time on this as well, right? 10 set. Well, they've got what, 10 left in back pocket, 25 seconds, and 2 smoke canisters. They've got this denial game to play behind, which means DZ need to pull the trigger. No, it's all gone wrong on the calls. Canadian running into a friendly nade. 2 kills come out from a C4. and Navi's strategy has come together, if not ever so slightly off the back of a misplay. Doki finding one more up on the hatch. That leaves Pamba all by himself to try and make some magic happen, but to kill 4, get the plant down, it's not going to happen. Navi going to find round 2.
He goes looking for it. Nath closes him down, but that was never likely to happen. As you say, 6 seconds left to go, 4 kills to find, no diffuser in hand. That is round done. It's going to be Navi taking the win, and they level us up at 1-0. Not letting DarkZero get themselves any sort of real advantage here, and just keeping them in touch for the time being. It's going to be Tellers and Archives. Interestingly, Navi just staying completely away from that top floor site here, Des. They've not really been playing too much of a roam game out in the map, Navi. They've pretty much given up that ground as soon as they've been pressured. I'd maybe like them to try and keep that line a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think in their mind they were looking at the comp they brought, right, and just said, forget about it. Like, we can play on site. We've got 2 C4s. We've got the Evil Eyes. We've got smoke canisters. They've got the Chanka Schumacher launchers. I tell you what is it with Chanka today? Calling Capcan earlier on, nearly stumbled over the word Schumacher despite saying I loved it just 30 seconds ago. Go figure. Either way, really smart comp for what they tried to do. Didn't want to lose members out on the roam because otherwise that punishes their site hold far more aggressively. And it was a good read into DarkZero, who did struggle to beat pace there. The 30-second mark kicked in and Saves was like, right, time to ping these Schumachers right into the plant spot. Pew, pew, pew. And before you know it, time was hitting 0. They were down to 1 man left. Great round by Navi. Now let's see how we fare though in Tellers and Archives. And this was a site I was speaking to XR Troika about yesterday. And I'm pretty sure he was saying, we just haven't really seen that site so far at 6 Invitational. We've seen the other 3 being rotated through, but this one, a hell of a lot less so.
Not massive. I mean, if you look at the top floor above you, you've got an awful lot of destructibility up there. So for me, Navi really need to be holding on to that top floor this time around. As the sledge gets in there, NJR, he's going to have an absolute field day because he can just completely open up around the site.
I had a dig, I've looked at it. We've seen 148 rounds of bank. Tellers Archives has only been played 8 times.
There you go. Very, very limited so far. And we'll see if there's a reason for that nowadays as Navi try to defend it.
Interestingly, I think it is the only map where every single site has an attacker-leaning win rate. Coastline's still pretty low overall at 39%, but Penthouse Theatre has got a 53% defensive win rate.
Okay. But it's mostly attacker favoured here on bank, and that's at the minute the side that DarkZero find themselves on. They're going to kick round 3 off as they try to get control of top floor immediately, I would have thought, to push Doki out and to start softening up that site with some verticality. The problem is that Navi have opened up an awful lot around the map here. They've got players, top floor, bottom floor, mid floor. Going to be very difficult to track them all down and clear out, but DarkZero could play into this potentially by just leaving them. Just push to site, watch your flanks, and try to get in through that wall for the plant.
There's a lot less for Canadian to focus on in the Flores this round too. Mainly looking in towards the soft walls, looking in towards the castle barricades, and arguably the Banshees. Potentially could also get the bulletproofs at the same time, though you do have a lot of nades on side, 4 of them in the back pockets of Hyper and NJR, plus the Gun 6 to work through. So they do have a lot of tools here to do away with those things that will be impeding them. But like we saw in the last round, it really came down to a matter of time. At about the 30-second mark, they were looking for the executes who had got all the work done, but it really played into Navi's delayed tactics. In this round, there's no smoke, there's no Chanka, there's only 1 C4. Everything is much more open for the side of Navi here, which means DarkZero aren't going to feel too pressed and worry about that late round denial.
Almost 2 minutes gone, Des, and DarkZero still waiting to clear across the top floor. Blur's up there, Doki's up there. They haven't opened the wall yet into CEO, which is obviously the plan as the Thermite of Eclipse has headed in that direction. It's just going to be done now. And Doki is still in a position to keep fighting here with 50 seconds left to go. DarkZero have got some serious work to do because they have got people on the flanks, they've got people above them, but they've got Doki above them on Arune, who can punch holes in the floor.
Ambler, who's down here, look, yeah, they aren't really dealing with the top floor. They basically ignored it and just want to strong arm their way into sight. Secretly on the bottom of Blue here might get challenged by Canadian as the plant's starting to get stuck down. Secretly pushes up and loses out. Canadian wins at the top of the stairs this time round at 5 versus 2, and DarkZero have said, forget about your top floor holds. We're going direct to site and we are cleaning house. Blur, the last one left alive, will find a consolation kill, but Tim, I feel it's a little bit late at this point. Getting put back on his feet by the Finker before getting gunned down once more. I don't think he clutches this one out, but we've seen a very decisive round come out here in round 3, Tim. The same as we did in round 1, the same as we did in round 2, and I don't see a way in which DZ lose this.
No, it's very unlikely for Blur now. They know where he's coming from. They're just going to keep peeking and challenging. NJR it is who ultimately picks up the final kill. And it was an interesting round, Des, because with 30 seconds left to go, NAVI were looking okay for it. As I said, they had the Aruni up there on top floor, can punch through holes, get the lines of sight for the denial, but then out of nowhere. It's as if DarkZero maybe just felt like they had Doki on a piece of string there. It was like, right, we can kill Doki whenever we choose. It just needs to be when the executes come in. And as soon as they set off, Pamba got that kill. And it was just really well orchestrated from DarkZero.
It was very well done. Now, NAVI have chosen for that 2-round cooldown to be the point at which they reset back to playing in open area. Once more, very intel-heavy lineup. Likely 2 bulletproofs coming along for the Melusi and the Castle. You got the Valkyrie and the Maestro on side. The big issue last time round was Hyper Tim, and you can't really just say, we can work around Hyper. No, he will just work through you if you give him the opportunity. So I want to see him find a way to keep him pinned down a little bit longer. Stop him from tearing through the site. Part of that might be looking towards Printer again, because I did clock and said Canadian could come charging through here because they've only got the one double doorway locked off. The single doorway off towards the right-hand side was left pretty much soft, so it was very easy to push through there. Wasn't required, but could be a play that DarkZero employ.
NAVI this time. We'll see how much they put onto top floor, because, you know, last round it was essentially meaningless. They had the top floor, they had 2 players, they had it held onto for the longest time directly above site, and it did them absolutely nothing as they were picked apart by DarkZero, who had just a really well-timed push onto site. As you say, this time we go back into open and staff area. We're going to have the double door barricaded out towards the window. We will likely see that soft wall opened up as Canadian did last time, I would imagine, but this time not on the Flores, bringing the Lion.
Yep, it gives you the gun 6, so no biggie there. You've got the ability to burn through ADSs, magnets, of which, of course, NAVI have none, so those flashes are going to hit true, assuming they are well placed. A lot of their hold has actually gone laterally, so horizontally across the ground floor, rather than upstairs on the second. The reason why you're always seeing Doki up here, by the way, for those that are curious, is it's very common entry path for sledge players especially to come in through one of those windows, up inside CEO, swing your way across through the kind of hallway off to the left-hand side, around Banana, and then down towards main stairs. So Doki wants to greet them, slow them down, because even taking 10, 15 seconds away from a team can really cost them come execute time.
DarkZero have got that door open just near copy window, and they're looking to just pressure a little bit. The E1D scan coming in, trying to hold down NAVI, I think, and supporting the top floor push from Hyper just to make sure they've got the control up there. Certainly more focused on it this round than last. Canadian, he's going to try to take himself a little peek into Tellers there. Finds himself in a battle with Blur, takes a chunk of damage and doesn't do any in return. Blur, talking of returns, heads himself back into sight. Halfway through the round now, DarkZero still reasonably slow on the attack, but that hasn't been a problem for them so far, Des. We've seen a great capability to execute, even in a 5 versus 5 late round. They just get everything set up and then push forward when they're ready.
It did sting them back in round 2 because of the heavy denial game coming out, and there is some of that here. There's no smoke, there's no Chanka, but there are 2 C4s. There is the Eve alive, for example, so still a lot that NAVI have got going for them. However, with 70 seconds, you're not freaking out for DarkZero just yet. Give it another 45, and then you can start to panic. Zapping away through with these bulletproof camps, by the way, of course, if you haven't seen them for a good while, they do have the EMP blast now that can disable away hard breach gadgets. It can zap on towards drones, which is always fantastic. Can just generally be a bit of a nuisance. It's not super long lasting, but does enough to slow the attackers down, which again has been NAVI's game plan throughout the round. Think back to the very start where Doki was up on CEO windows. A similar sort of story. Nade coming in over the top. They've managed to get rid of 1 exothermic, Tim. That's absolutely huge. A C4 does come out before being traded out by Nadian. So 1 for 1 in the final 30 seconds.
In comes another nade. Saves is just going to hold himself prone and wait for the push to come through. Eclipse moves in. Do they know where he is located? I'm not sure they do, but it's Doki who picks up 1 Nath with the next, and that leaves us now 2v3 as Canadian manages to find a trade there. Pamba's just managed to work his way in behind them here and brings it back to a 1v2. Can he find the 2 remaining? He's got 10 seconds, 1 behind him, 1 off to the side. Diffuser down cold on the ground. Unlikely here because he needs to keep that clock ticking, but he's not going to have a chance. Finds 1. It's meaningless as it comes down to that final finish, and Pamba cannot close it out. NAVI with another defense, and that's going to level things up at 2-2, and I think NAVI are going to be fairly happy with that. As you said, there's an attacker favour so far on Bank here at the SI, and That plays into Navi's hands right now.
Yeah, a good little adaptation there on the defense too, I think, from Navi, where they clocked. The big issue last time was what I describe as probably the most common take on this site. That is, normally you have a sledge coming through electrical off towards the east. They swing that hammer at the soft wall and then swing it straight through the castle barricade on the double doorway. You flood into site, you find your 2 entry frags, and before you know it, the plant's going down, and it's all about a retake. It's, again, the most common way that you'll see that site played out. This time around, they adapted things out. They had one sort of on the hatch inside of open area where the soft wall opened up to see straight through to that doorway. They had one in the southwest corner of open area to be able to see everything up to the doorway, and had saves inside of sight, which was the main focus of DarkZero. They know that he was there because he just impacted away the exothermic. Flashes came over, frags came over, they couldn't finish him off. So basically there was a 3-way crossfire set up onto that entry point, and despite Canadian's best efforts pushing in through that single area around by Printer, he really couldn't get too much done. So goodbye Navi, and they learned from what they saw in the prior round.
A lot of renovation going on down on that bottom floor with the Tachanka just opening up the walls as we would expect, just going to allow those shots to come through when necessary. It's going to be saves doing that work. Doki only again playing on the smoke. FMJ, question mark? I think it probably has.
Yeah, so they run around with the secondary because it can be a bit quicker. I imagine he's still got the FMG. They've still got the Chanka who's going to do... This is the thing, right? Normally you're like, oh, we need at least 2 shotguns or 2 people able to transform the site. When you got a Chanka, you don't only need 1 Lord in your team. You only need 1 LMG to gattle through those walls for you. Of course you do. Secret is playing with the shotgun. So, yep, Doki, of course, going to be on the FMG. Makes total sense. You don't need 2 shotguns there. And the rotation from coming in from... No impacts, actually, I'm a liar. From the LMG from the Chanka. So they had everything lined up. What's concerned me here, Tim, they've already lost secretly. And what did we see their game plan be last time? Sit on site, play for the late round denial. You've got enough tools to do it. You should not be losing men early on. Doki darting around on the top floor, definitely risking his life up here a little bit, but balances the books by bringing down the Ying. And for me, that is such a critical pick because that is your go-to execute. You lose the smokes, you lose the candelas, you lose everything you need to make this play happen.
And we saw last time DarkZero attacked onto this side, that was exactly the play that they went for. They tried to use those candelas to get the cover that they needed. It was unsuccessful in the end, but they're going to try again without this time, and we'll see if that can lead them on a different path. Unlikely, I would suggest. They're going to have to do more work this time to find those kills inside a site, particularly saves and Doki.
I'm a bit of a liar as well, by the way. It wasn't the smokes that are gone because they're on the thermite. It was the hard breach gadgets. And the thing is, they've timed it, well, set it up perfectly, right? Where they need 2 Salmons to get rid of a hatch. There are 5 hatches to get rid of. You have 2 exothermics, the Ace can get rid of 1, and the hard breach gadgets can get rid of 2 more. So you can get all 5 hatches. They've now lost the ability to open 2 of them, so once again need to be more selective in where their focus is going to be. By the looks of it, they're going to start out with this one inside of the office, starting to get their look through into sight. Arguably, it's the most important. You can ignore the server one if you so desire. This one for now at least opening up more of a sight hole onto the downstairs. Pamba making use of it. Maybe this is because they don't want to actually open this up and drop through it, Tim. They just want to chuck nades down instead. There's
no more Selmas because obviously it takes 2 Selmas to clear a hatch. Yep. It would take the thermite now to come up and contribute to that. And I think they've just got too much to open, is the top and bottom of it. As you say, that Ying being a potentially bigger loss than they might have expected. They can do some work from the hatch, but not as much as they might like. NJR just going to take a bit of damage there as he tries to go in, but the Toxic Babe canister will force him back. And look at that, we've got Toxic Gas, we've got Shumika launcher fire down there. It is a nightmare right now for DarkZero to try and get themselves into that position. Eclipse, however, does push in under the cover of smoke. Doki finds Hyper, the rest push in, and Doki just keeps on firing. Eclipse is going to be successful here more than likely though in getting that plant down. The cover is there from NJR, but shut down by Nath, and it's surely going to be a matter of time until this final kill comes out. Eclipse downed, and that's going to be saves. Into save the day manages to disable that diffuser, and Navi take another defensive round on bank.
It's good as well. I was nervous for a short while where they had the C4 come out and not connect onto the man. I was like, okay. Sorry, the C4 come out. Liar. When they lost the C4 in the early round, they didn't use the C4 when the plant was going down and just thought, okay, I mean, last time around it was a big 2K from Secretly that really secured you the round. And here they sort of held back on that instead, leaning on the Shumikas and the smoke canisters coming out of Doki. But ultimately, it's none of those things that contribute to the round win. It was Doki getting a massive 3K in the round. 1 early up on the top floor with the trade onto Canadian. Then 2 from inside of Red around the default plant spot as DZ tried to flood the site. Very good stuff from Navi once again. It does put them up 3-2. A good defensive half, given again how Bankers looked across the competition.
They're going to go back to Tellers and Archives, Des.
Okay.
Which is an interesting one because DarkZero won this reasonably easy last time around.
Got 4 kills in a row without a response, Tim.
It came down to 2 minutes 30. DarkZero just set themselves up and they just collapsed on NAVI and absolutely destroyed them inside of, as you say, about 4 seconds. So NAVI are going to have to do something differently here, and I'm interested to see them not go. You know, this is how much they don't want to go to that top floor site, is the fact that they brought Tellers Archives again, despite having lost it heavily last time around. So it's fascinating. We'll see what they do maybe differently. Last time around it was Blur and Dorky playing up on the top floor. They didn't have any impact at all. DarkZero were just able to pretty much remove them at will and get in there and start to look for a plant on site. They forced Blur into a 1v4 at the end. Very, very tricky for NAVI here. They're going to be investing up on the top floor once again. Maybe it's just about winning a few gunfights this time.
Yeah, and I think the primary reason why they're avoiding the top floor is knowing that DarkZero are a Ying team. Like, Ying is so obnoxious on that top floor as well. You can literally line yourself up on the windows, open up one of the 2 walls out towards the east to give you a sight line across, and then just get loads of smokes in there, get the candelas in, go for a plant, and the round is over. 1, 2, and 3. It becomes really hard for a retake as well, because it relies on you jumping out, and we saw, I think it was NIP, with a double jump out the other day that cost them the round because they were thinking, well, we've got to jump out and kill the guy, but they both had the idea at the same time. No one stayed inside, they couldn't defuse, and that round fell by the wayside. So NAVI just saying, look, Ying team, forget about it. We are not going to play on that top floor.
Dorky just chasing drones at the minute, going to take damage off the windows, and this is the problem. Got to keep him alive and active up there. This time it's NJR, last time it was Pambazoo that was able to take him down on the top floor. He's going to drop himself a little bit deeper, get in behind those castle barricades and just try to hold on. Maybe that's the angle that he was taken out from before. Dorky being very attentive towards that main lobby rappel this time around. He's the only one that's taken any real damage. NJR took a little bit of return in the exchange, but the Finker boost is going to deal with that and pop him back up to pretty much full health there. Dorky, he's just waiting for this push to come in. Halfway through the round and still no real response, no real action, here from DarkZero yet. Still trying to deal with Dorky. They've opened the castle barricades. There he goes. Caught out again. Pambazoo again. DarkZero, good start.
Too easy a read there as well. I think once they knew that he was in the position, he'd moved his way back into CEO, they were like, right, he's dead here. His only way out is out through the window or back through the castle barricade he smashed to pieces. And we've got the hold on that because we have players on both windows. An easy close, and Doki arguably overstaying his welcome a little too much there. A nice entry coming in. You don't lose too much because those laser gates are still going to be deployed along with the bulletproof camera that came out. At least I assume he had a bulletproof in the back pocket. On the other side, it's the impacts down on the Malusi. So yep, came from the Aruni and the castle. Makes sense. Still two C4s on side, so they can play the vertical denial if they want. But look back to how it played out last time, Tim. DarkZero just ignored the top floor. Here, they are going to use it, so changing things up ever so slightly. So there is still room for those C4s to have an impact in the round.
NJR getting to work vertically now. This is a little bit more sort of evenly paced from DarkZero than last time they attacked this site, where it all came in the final 30 seconds. This time they've got themselves that top floor control. They hold in the vertical angles. Blur's going to take damage there, just trying to fight on the reverse, but he's unable to really find anything at all. Nade goes down. He's not going to find its man. Blur, he's looking back for more. He wants the nitro out there. It's not going to be successful if he pulls the trigger right now. Saves. He's getting aggressive right up to the door here as they push in to try and get that plant down, but he's not going to be able to see it. The man's right in front of you. Saves the smoke, just making it. He finds him somehow in there. Uses the sound cue of the diffuser going down. Saves is having a little chuckle. He knows that he was lucky there. Face to face with 2 DarkZero players. NAVI take the advantage on the defensive bank, and if the stats continue as they have so far, we'd expect them to win a few on attack as well. DarkZero could be in trouble here, Des.
They could do. They absolutely could do. A lot of it coming down to NAVI around this site-based play, right? Off on the roam, sure. Early kind of exchanges, 1-for-1, Doki going down early. Not super ideal. And outside of round 1, they've just looked very confident. They haven't looked too threatened by the side of DarkZero. And when things have stacked up, they've always found a response. They've always been cool under pressure, stepped away from the site, played off C4, smoke canisters, you name it. Really good half coming out of NAVI. Now they switch to being on the attacking side of things, and it's time to see what DarkZero can do in the basement. They have got 3 C4s on side, Tim. They've got the Valkyrie, they've got the Mirror, all the good stuff you saw from Na'Vi, but no Chanka this time round, just the smoke in isolation.
Let's see if they can hold on to this as well as Na'Vi did. Na'Vi were 100% on this site. One of the big differences that we're going to see on the attack, Des, is no Ying, but we do have a Capitao coming in from Nath.
That's a stylistic choice there as well for them, I think. Forget about the Candelas. Give us those firebolts to stop you running over ground. Because, of course, the one thing to consider is a Warden is available. Na'Vi could have brought it out at any time and may well be aware of exactly the same risks. You can basically ignore Candelas to your own risk, admittedly, and still step forwards. You can't ignore fire on the ground that's going to result in you dying. So, again, a change coming in for them. Got the double Heartbreach gadget coming in, the same as the Ying would have had. So the overall impact in terms of getting ready for the Execute is no different. It's more the tools they have available to them in the Execute that have changed ever so slightly.
DarkZero looking like they're going to hold on to the top floor again. I've spoke about this already, Des. Something that we've seen out of the North American teams that we don't really see out of the EU teams. We've just seen Navi hold on to this site without doing it. So I'm interested to see the contrast here because I haven't really been sold yet on this defense of trying to hold on to open and staff that we've seen, because the reason being we've just seen two very good defenses from Navi that held on to this site without using open and staff.
That's it.
And I've seen this defense picked apart a couple of times now.
Yes.
So we're going to have to see DarkZero do something here. They're going to have to show us why this works. Exactly why is this as good as what Navi have just done on the defense. And if they can't, they're going to be 5-2 down on their own map pick, and that is huge. That's going to be a big problem for them. Eclipse has already dipped himself back to play on top of that hatch as the castle. He's just looking to be able to take a few shots and drop away. But DarkZero, they can't play this passively. They need to hold on to open and staff because there's a lot of their utility up there. There's a lot of the resources. The hatches are open. They need to be able to use this.
Yeah, I'm looking in towards Navi here. They've cleared out one of the mute jammers that was out on towards Bleepers to stop them being able to get through. On the other side, Secretly has just cleared away the mute jammer inside of staff room, so it's all been cleared out. They can get drones inside, which is exactly where Nath is, and they can see control of open area. We're down to about that minute and 15 mark, so whilst it was less about dealing with roam clearers on the top floor, it was more about those inside open area, which I would reason, Tim, if you're consuming up a bunch of Selmas, for example, they've gone through 2 of those and a bunch of drones are being thrown in. They're only down to 5, and you can very safely drop away to site immediately. That's probably considered a little bit of a win.
It's not, like I say, I want to see this defense work because I want to see where the real positives are, and one of them so far is burning time. There's no two ways about that. There's still work for Navi to do here. They've still got access to site to gain. They haven't got any kills yet, so this is, for me, the best that I've seen this defense working so far, and I'm liking it. Hyper, he's going to find himself with NJR, just trying to deal. Na'Vi now have got server control. They're in a position to potentially go in and start getting that diffuser down, which is exactly what we see happening. Secretly goes in with the ace. We've got utility coming out to prevent. Blur onto NJR. No more Toxic Babe canisters. Kill, kill, kill. There they go. The diffuser's going down again, and once again there's that mid-floor hold of lockers and CCTV. Does not work. It falls apart. Cut down by Nath. It's Eclipse is the last death, and Navi take themselves a 5-2 lead, and I'm just not sold on that defense, I'm afraid.
I don't mind it. Again, my reasoning being that, look at Doki up on top floor back on their defensive rounds. When he got picked off early on, he got isolated. He was kind of playing for the trade game against Canadian along with Blur. You're losing out really valuable members like that roaming smoke. Sure, it's got an FMG, but it's also got 3 smoke canisters you really need for the site. The one thing I do really like about the defense for DarkZero is, yes, you're leaving hatches opened up, which makes life a little bit easier for Navi. They only leave the one hatch open, and they commit their mute jammers up onto the ground floor. It slows Navi down, but by the same token, DarkZero, as soon as they feel even an ounce of pressure, and for them, it was a single mute jammer being killed, they just drop away. It was a big frag fest at the end of the day, in which Navi came out on top. 4 kills in a row and a plant coming down. But the one thing I'll also reason to you, Tim, the first plant attempt came in at about the 23-second mark. That was when the first smoke canister came out of the smoke player. If they hadn't been absolutely shot to pieces by the side of Navi, they had the tools to hold on there. It's just that Navi went a bit too aggressive, a bit too fast, and DarkZero weren't ready.
As I say, I think that there's positives that can be taken from that.
Long story, Tim. Stop being a hater.
I can see that there's some positives to the defence. In the time that was wasted, I feel DarkZero maybe just gave up mid-floor a little bit too easily. Like you said, the mute jammer goes and they both drop back to site. I understand they're going to come under pressure, but I feel like if you're going to hold on to that, you've got to hold on to it for as long as possible. I would also say that maybe down in basement, there's a couple of holes there that have cropped up because Doki's able to drop down and get himself like in behind the defenders practically. And so I think if your positioning on basement level is maybe a little bit better, combined with just trying to be a little bit more competitive in the mid-floor, maybe it's got something. Maybe, you know, we can talk about it and it's something we can work on. But what I can see is that NAVI were able to hold it down twice and DarkZero have struggled on their first attempt there. 5-2 it's going to be to NAVI, and that is going to leave us now in a seriously dire situation for DarkZero. This is their map choice. They've got Oregon coming up next as map number 2, and NAVI are doing well here. As you said at the beginning, Des, we've seen attackers winning more rounds than not here on Bank, and that trend, it looks set to continue at the minute, and NAVI, they're pretty much cruising here. And if you remember when I came in, I said, I think this map selection favours NAVI.
Yeah, I know our example from NAVI back in Stage 3 was their game against G2, right? But as you clocked, even with G2 not quite being the team they once were, NAVI still looked thunderous on that map, incredibly confident on the defense, prolific on the attack. The G2 were left floundering a little bit, and it's a similar story here against DarkZero. Again, reminding you, the team that lose this series go home. They are done at the 6th Invitational 2022. So DarkZero really got to dig deep here, find some ideas to employ in the defense, because they're 1 round away from guaranteeing NAVI at least get overtime, and 2 away from losing their own map pick.
Canadian's going to play it inside of the elevator on the top floor for the time being, try and hold them off, but here comes the sweep across from Doki. Is he aware? Not sure. The way he just turned his flank away from elevator there. Possibly not. Maybe not been drawn out. There you go, that's the answer. So he hadn't been drawn out at that point, but will be picked up now, drops himself away. He's ready to go all the way down to basement if needed. It's just a little 2-stop tour in both of the floors of the elevators until he's forced to move. Blur gets in there and starts opening things up, looking towards archives and tellers. The site itself, of course, is open area, but they just want to make sure that the defenders aren't free to stand around and just gun back into site from there.
Absolutely. Here it's about the roam, right? It's about wasting time for NAVI once again, but Blur's been swinging that hammer for the last 45 seconds. He's already gone through half his charges on the sledge. It's weird to think there's those charges on that. You never really see a team completely go through all of them, but it's a very real possibility with how much work he's doing that you might see those all chunked out. We're looking towards Natus really as the primary go-to player here, because he's the one with that capital. He wants the execution tools to come through, and he's starting to position them up for an exit, or an entry, sorry, in towards the staff room side of things. Walls should be opened up. I don't think it's going to get impacted away. Last second they do try, but just about miss out on that one, I think. There we go. It's opened up, so they now have a way inside, and they can smoke on through. So much so that NGR has gone, right, I don't want to get burnt to death. Get me out, and he's now backed away inside of open area. Staff is completely open. You're going to find DarkZero playing for angles here, Tim.
Hyper finds Blur, and they've got Canadian roaming underneath on the Mozzie as well. Something to watch in the late round. I'd expect NAVI to be aware of it, because Secretly tried the exact same thing and was caught out when he tried to come up blue stairs. But there you go, you can just see Canadian disappearing away underneath. I think he knows his number is up and he's going to look to try and move elsewhere. Gets himself directly under sight instead, starts playing on those hatches, tries for the 2-floor nade, and sorry, Nitro, and it was very, very close to finding its mark and taking the man down, but doesn't quite achieve it. NAVI, 18 seconds left to go, 5 still left on the board for DarkZero. Not looking good.
Nope, still got the tools to work with, and here we come. You can hear the firebolts raining out. No doubt smokes might follow here too. Secretly positioned on the door, ready to make a move as Doki finds one, but it's a backstab coming in. They've got to scramble and get the diffuser here. Doki's inside of sight. Nate's going deep. Will start to get this plan down. Saves on the cover. Has got to win against 2. He gets 1. Can he find the next as well? Yes, he can! A massive cover from Saves on the double doorway ensures that NAVI find another round and move up to 6-2.
What a cover from Saves there. He's just one of those players that is so reliable in those late stages sometimes, Des. We see him so often the last alive or in there on the cover for the plant going down, and he had his man's back there. And I don't know what it is about that room, but we've seen some real plays there over the last couple of days. We've got to shout out the clutch that we saw coming out of the Sonics yesterday, Des. That was something else. Kansan went absolutely
honestly, mate, for my
crazy
money, that should be an advert for Siege moving forwards.
Yeah, it's one of them players. It's one of them players. I used to use Scyther, as you know, from Empire on this map.
Shotgun out the hole in the wall, diffuse long arm.
Just big brain. And that Kansan play, I would agree, put it up there with that.
The one thing that it looks kind of confusing about it is the first 2 kills he gets, he flicks like 270 degrees. He's facing southwest towards the bottom left corner of open area and gets a kill. He immediately flicks onto the double door. You just saw Navi push through and go for the plant. Like, you can't even process it. It's that quick. Like, he may as well have pressed the button and moved 270. It just didn't even look like a mouse movement. It was that fast and then connects a shot. I was like, what? To then go on and win the next 2, especially the 1v1 against Coated, who's up on square stairs, and connect the shots like he did was just unreal. Like, say, a real good advertisement, at least in my mind. It doesn't show all the, I guess, the parts of Siege around things like vertical destruction, being able to smash walls through, for example, but it's just the sheer gun skill that was unbelievable, and it was all done with an SMG-11, Tim. That's the craziest part.
It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. You know, as you say, you can't really appreciate how difficult that is until you try playing a few rounds with the SMG and trying to hit a few shots. It's always been something that's impressed me, particularly about players like Nesk and Team Liquid in general. They've got a few who will pick up that SMG and just absolutely dish out the damage with it, and it's certainly not easy by any means. So hats off to Kansan if you're watching. Great clutch, and what a moment of SI 2022 so far. Back in the game at hand, NAVI 6-2 might have been a little unexpected for some days against DarkZero, who had a much better game against TSM, but I think we've got to, asterisk that with a little bit of caution and say that DarkZero have looked weak when it's come to inter-regional games, and that does seem to be continuing here for them.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at the game against TSM, right? Real fun game that we had.
Oh, great.
Yeah, honestly brilliant. Like, they looked like a different team back then, and I thought that was going to be the start of their tournament, but here maybe it's again it's being slightly rattled by the alternative playstyles coming out, by the different ways of thinking. We heard Jess and Fresh on their desk for the B stream talking about how many teams of thinking about Elevate as being arguably the most terrifying team to play. Super said that in his interview. Don't want Kia, we can deal with them. Elevate, absolute nightmare team. And it's about that unpredictable nature that can really upset the apple cart. And DZ is a team that like to play very structured, are being stung by it here.
Yeah, Saves is just going to air jab off the main stairs there, prevent any rotation back up, and look how quickly they've cleared it, Des. We're talking about the same defence again that I've already discussed, down into lockers and CCTV, holding that mid-floor and trying to keep it from there. This time, last time they wasted nearly 2 minutes in there and they still lost the round. This time, it was about 1 minute 45 left on the clock when Navi got in there and could start working things. They're opening that second hatch now. They've got control pretty much to move down into servers. They can start causing a problem. Doki's going to head down main stairs. It caused a lot of damage from that side previously as well. Navi, 54 seconds, and you've got to feel like it looks good for them to close it out here.
It does. They're in a good position, right? When they've got themselves with the hatches open. They're even looking in for a 5 versus 5 plant here, which is the craziest part. NJR going to bring the smoke out, and secretly he stepped out a little too soon. Really thought maybe he could have stuck that one, but they are bringing everything out here. Fire inside of red, so no one can stand present, and now all they've got to do is wait for these smokes to burn through. NJR still sat where he has 2 more in back pocket. He can burn quite a bit of time here. He secretly takes a little bit of gas damage. Not enough that it's going to scare him, but does push him off the plant once again. It's a time-based game here, Tim, because one more smoke canister comes out, then Navi are going to go for it.
That's it, and that's why that smoke has come in. Make this throw a little bit more difficult.
Oh, he's gone deep.
NJR can do it blindfold, but it doesn't matter. The nitro comes out. This is better from DarkZero. Blur straight in, though. The cover is there, but yet again, that diffuser is down. 3 seconds. It's too late, surely. Saves, somehow gets in. Can he save the round? Nath is keeping him busy, and he finds the kill. Unbelievable from Navi. There's 3 seconds left to go, and that is Saves and Nath just absolutely grasping that from the jaws of defeat in that round. Navi turn it around and take the map, and that's 1-0 in quick fashion.
Beautiful. In the same half,